Okay, so as I talked about, the goal today is going to be to get us reacquainted with Revit in the interface, and we're going to take this in several steps in the video process. So you should be in Revit 2020. What I want you to do, you're going to go to the Open tab, and in the on the V drive, under Classes, Architecture, Spring 2020 or 2020 Spring, under the 25601 folder, there's a student folder where you'll see your name. Under your name, I'm going to click on my file. There's something called Lecture Start Files. Then there's something called Lecture 2, which is this one today. And this is our start file today. It's a very simple base file, but we'll do a lot of things in here. So I'm going to go ahead and open that file. Now, one thing you see when we have this file open, we have some grids and going both directions, 1, 2, 3, A, B, and C. And the distance between them is nothing that is logical, right? So as you look at this, typically with a small building or a small residential building like this is today, you wouldn't have grid lines at all. But I want to be able to share some information on grids and datums. But let's talk a little bit about the interface. On the architecture tab, which is the one we spend a lot of our time on, as you know, we've got the wall, door, window, component, column, roof, ceiling, floor, and several other tabs that we'll get to over time. Over here in this area, we have the properties box and the project browser. Now, more often than not, someone will lose one or for some reason both of those and be confused as to where to go get them. And if you did that, where you would go get them, you would come over to your View tab, and under User Interface, you could come back in and click on Project Browser, and you could click on the Properties box, and you would get those back. Okay? It's just FYI. As most of you know, in the properties box, once you click on an element, like I'm clicking on this wall, you get a lot of information about that wall. You'll get the location line for it, you'll get the level it's associated to, the base constraint, and also the level that it's going up to. And if I stretch that out a little bit, it'll be a little better. Excuse me, let me start that again. It'll be a little easier for you to see where the base and top constraints are. Now, it's always good to constrain your walls. By default, if I don't constrain a wall, what will happen if I say it's unconnected, the default height that Revit typically draws things at are 20 feet. So if I don't associate it to a datum and I go look at a 3D view, you see what this wall looks like right now, right? So it's always good to grab those walls, and if at all possible, make sure they're associated to a level and apply that, and that problem goes away. Okay, so let's start with a few other things. For all of us, this isn't our first time using Revit, but perhaps some of you haven't used the roof command that much, or if you've used it one way. And what I want to show you are other tools that you can use to build roofs and to edit roofs. For instance, we'll start with walls and roofs. I'm going to get out of this 3D view, and what I'm going to do is go to the second level over here in the project browser. And as you can see, I have a roof that's cut off here. Now, in one of our other lessons, we're going to spend a little more time going through something in the view called the what? We're going to look at the view range. And if you look right here in that view range box, that box tells you what you can see, where the cutting plane is and where the top of it is. Again, that's going to be a lesson for a little later, but I want you to be aware of some of the things that we're going to be looking into. So you can see right now, I can only see a part of that roof. But if in this level 2 I wanted to see the whole roof, one of the things that would be good for you to know is going into that view range that we were just looking at. And let me go here. Notice that the cut plane of this view is at 4 feet. So what it means is that at 4 feet above this datum, and we'll look at the datum in a moment, the roof is being cut. What do I mean by datum? Well, if I go down here in my elevations to a south elevation, notice that this is my second level datum at 10 feet. What that view range in that other view is telling us, if I bring it up again, right, is that at 4 feet above the level 2 datum, this is being cut, much like a normal floor plan is cut at 4 feet. So again, if we look at this in terms and I draw a detail line just to give you an idea, at this point, 4 feet right here, where I'm drawing this 2D detail line, that's where that line is being cut in this other view. So if I wanted to remedy that to just see it, what could I do? I could simply come into my view range and I could say, even though the cut plane is at at 4, I can say I want the cut plane to be something like 10 feet. Okay? Now, I'm doing this because I want you to see the error you're going to get. It's saying the top clip plane is set below the cut plane. It's not letting me do that. Now I'm going to pause the video because I want you to see something. Okay, so what we had in our discussion in realizing that when we came here to the view range feature for this roof, we realized that if we wanted to change this cut plane to 10, we'd get an error. The error is because we need to set the top of our view range to something higher or unlimited. Now we see the entire roof in this view, right? And in this south elevation, now we can see where that 4 foot was. So we can go ahead and delete that. All right. The next thing I want to do, going back to level 1 or even the 3D view, because the 3D view can be helpful. If I type in SD on the keyboard, you can see how I get a shaded view of this, which can be helpful for me, right? Now, again, I can switch and hit SD. I can hit WF. Wireframe shows me all the way through the house. Hidden line is the first thing I was looking at. Know that the other way to change those features is down here in your what? The detail level that you use for each view. So those same things are available. I can change that to fine, but you remember the WF I typed in? That's wireframe, HL for hidden line, and SD for shaded. Right now, those are the only 3 that we need to use. The rest of these 3 are not going to be helpful for us right now at this time. So I'll click on shaded so you can see it. Notice I'm holding down the shift and clicking on my middle mouse button so that I can orbit around. Notice my walls don't seem to be touching my what? They don't seem to be touching my roof. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of orbiting around. But if I want those walls to touch that roof or connect to it, what I can do is hover over one of them and touch the tab key. It grabs all of those walls. I can click on it and notice I get this availability here in green to attach or detach it. One more time, I'll hover and I'll hit tab, click, and I'm going to say attach the top of this wall. And I'll click my roof and notice now my walls are attached. I can do the exact same thing to detach them. I can say detach the top base from that roof, and now I have that. Okay? I'm going to go ahead, hover, hit tab, click, and attach the top base to that right there. And it's giving me a warning because it's saying this misses the roof, and that's okay. I'm just going to hit OK, and now that's attached. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video, and I'm going to give you a few minutes to catch up to me at this point. In doing what? In changing your view range in your level 2 so that you can see the top of your roof. In addition to that, I in the 3D view was able to attach the walls to the roof. And I want you to do that as well, and then we'll move on to the next part of our lesson.